Pandu. Bhishma stood resplendent in his white silks. He waved his long arms toward the many fine golden seats arranged around him on the silk rugs in his tent. After his visitors were seated, he took his own seat and said, "What can I do for your delight? I will do it with all my soul, even if it is extremely difficult to accomplish." Yudhisthira folded his palms. Looking at Bhishma, he remembered their years together in Hastinapur. His heart melted, and he could hardly speak. Glancing across at Krishna to gain strength, he took a deep breath and addressed the old Kuru leader. "Oh, Bhishma, oh, highly learned man, please tell us how we may gain victory in this fight. How can we put an end to this slaughter? Oh, Lord, please tell us how we may vanquish you. You do not display even the slightest weakness in battle. Your bow is always drawn fully. No one can see when you will take up your shafts, place them on your bow, and fire them. Who could dare face you when you blaze forth with such awful prowess? Each day you slaughter more of my army, and I fear that soon we shall be ruined. Thus I have come to you again, as you instructed me. O grandsire." Bhishma was moved as he looked at Yudhisthira and his brothers. All of them carried scars from the wounds they had received in the battle. All of them were gazing reverentially at his face. How different they were from Duryodhana and his brothers. Bhishma knew that if he told Yudhisthira now to give up the fight and leave the kingdom to the Kauravas, he would obey. There was nothing the Pandavas would not do to satisfy their elders. If only Dhritarashtra's sons were like these virtuous brothers, this horrible carnage would never have happened. Yet here was Krishna. It was surely his desire and arrangement that all the earth's kings and warriors would be destroyed. So many of them were, after all, atheistic, even demoniac. Obviously, he wanted to relieve the earth's burden. In a few moments, Bhishma said, "O son of Kunti, as long as I am alive, you will not gain victory. I tell you this truly. Strike me down, and victory will be yours. I will permit you, O sons of Kunti, to strike me as you please. When I am slaughtered, then all the others on our side will be overcome." Whew. What a conversation. Yudhisthira spoke with difficulty. "Please tell us in detail how we may achieve this apparently impossible feat, O wise man. We could perhaps vanquish Indra, thunderbolt in hand, or Yamaraj wielding his mace, but you appear to be invincible." Bhishma held up his hands. "It is as you say, O king. When, with these hands, I clutch weapons and stand to fight, none can withstand me. Only when I lower my weapons will I be approachable. Here is my vow, which I will not break. I will not raise weapons against one who is weaponless, one whose armor and standard are shattered, one who flies away in fear, one who surrenders, one who has only one son, one who is disabled, a woman, or one who bears the name of a woman. O son of Pandu, I will fight with none of these at any time." Bhishma placed a hand on Yudhisthira's shoulder as he spelled out his meaning. "Drupada's valiant and wrathful son, who is known in your army as Shikandi, it is he who will cause my fall. Formerly he was a woman, as everyone knows. Therefore I will not strike him, even if he attacks me. Place him at the forefront of the fight, and let Arjuna stand behind him. Only Dhananjaya or the illustrious Krishna can bring me down in battle. If Shikhandi faces me, I will not fight. Then it will be possible for Arjuna to slay me. Do this, O Yudhisthira, and gain victory. Pretty heavy, huh? Last page. When Bhishma stopped speaking, the Pandavas rose from their seats. Bowing before him one by one, they touched his feet and asked for his permission to leave. Krishna also placed his hands on Bhishma's feet and bowed to the floor before him. Then they all left the tent, leaving Bhishma alone. As they made their way back to their own camp, Arjuna spoke with Krishna. His face was flushed, and his voice choked as he addressed his friend. O Vasudev, while playing in my childhood, I would soil the high-souled Bhishma's garments by climbing onto his lap. Clambering on his body, I would say, Father. That hero would then gently reply, I am not your father, but your father's father, O Bharata. How can I slay him, O Madhava? Let me kill our own troops. I cannot kill him under any circumstances. What do you think, O Krishna? Krishna's voice was firm. O Jishnu, having promised to kill Bhishma in battle, how can you now avoid that without transgressing your Kshatriya duties? Overthrow him, O son of Kunti. Without slaying Ganga's son in battle, you can never hope to win this war. It has been ordained by the gods that Bhishma will soon go to death's abode. Only you can bring him down. Do not hesitate. Hear from me an ancient instruction given by Brihaspati. Quote, one should slay even an aged man or an elder or one endowed with all virtues if he comes as an enemy, or indeed anyone else who comes for one's destruction. This is the eternal duty of Kshatriyas, O Dhananjaya, fighting, protecting the subjects, and performing sacrifices, all without maliciousness, are their sacred duties. 2 paragraphs and we're done. Arjuna looked ahead into the darkness as they rode across the field. He knew he could not avoid this fight, especially as Krishna repeatedly urged him on. Clearly it was his duty, only sentiment held him back. Somehow he had to get past that. Clutching the reins of his white horse, Arjuna replied dourly, surely, O Krishna, Shikhandi has been born for Bhishma's death. As soon as Bhishma sees him, he will drop his weapons. Therefore, as Bhishma has suggested, let us place Shikhandi at the front as we attack the grandfather. I will then do the needful. The Pandavas returned to their camp with mixed feelings. They now knew that victory would be theirs before long, but only at the cost of Bhishma's life. Censuring Duryodhana and his old father, they entered their tents to rest for the night. I mean, that's Mahabharata. One of the memorable parts for me is when grandfather Bhishma or Bhishma cites Vayu as saying the 3 reasons whereby one can reject an instruction. I'll read it again, just to get it exactly. Let battle scenes be in between. Many pages back. should have marked the page. The God Vayu has stated that a preceptor may be abandoned if he is vain, has swerved from the right path, or does not know your order. So if some instruction is given that's explicitly, it's very similar to Bali Maharaj rejecting the order of his spiritual master. Because, he's Vishnu, and you surrender to Vishnu, take everything. But the scriptures says surrender to Vishnu. So I can't follow that instruction. Don't surrender to Vishnu when the scripture says surrender to Vishnu. I can't follow that. The window is pretty narrow. So and the consequence is serious. Fighting parashram. Yikes. It's hard to understand, isn't it? The events could have unfolded in any number of different ways. And what a complex way, and what a painful way, and the feelings of Arjuna. It's powerful. How can I? And yet he does it anyways. But it's not simply to gain victory. It's because that's what Krishna wants. And what does Krishna want? To remove the demoniac kings. And because Bhishma has taken the side of the demoniac kings, he has to be removed. Now, what it means, because he's Bhishma, he's going back to Godhead. So that's great. If you look at that part of it, he's going back to Godhead. And he's old, he's very old, he's really, really old. So let him go back to Godhead. But he can't be defeated. So he has to be defeated by some method. So he can go back to Godhead. It's hard. It's the principle of morality. There's many issues that come up in our devotional life. That when you look at those issues through the lens of, our standard sense of morality, it's really hard to get transcendence out of the standard sense of morality. And it happens. Without listing events, that happens. And, it's hard to imagine, even with Krishna standing next to you, saying, "Kill your grandfather." Okay, I'm ready. Because Krishna says. But that's the situation. How surrendered was Arjuna to Krishna? Now, it doesn't go into Arjuna's understanding the purpose. The commentator is making those comments. Now, we'll have to assume that Arjuna understands the reasons, not just obedience out of love, or obedience or love, duty or love. There has to be some higher, some realization of the higher purpose. Arjuna already showed that way back, when it was the killing of Ashwatthama, and he didn't kill Ashwatthama, although Krishna was saying kill him, Bhima was saying kill him, his elder brother was saying spare him, his wife was saying spare him. What do you do? But he was given the intelligence to understand what Krishna wanted. So he must have understood what Krishna wanted with this, although it doesn't spell it out. We had a discussion just this morning in Austin about when some misfortune comes, how to see it. We're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 1, when Vidura was insulted by Duryodhana. And on the one hand, there's the material energy acting. That was specifically, he could understand. Duryodhana is bringing about his own, the exhausting of whatever piety he had to get into the position that he was in. He's exhausting his piety. He's going down. So seeing that side is one thing, but then what's the other thing? So the internal potency. The insult and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The misfortune is clear. So what's the good fortune for Vidura? So Prabhupada makes a strong point about he did see the internal potency acting, and the internal potency acting, he went on pilgrimage, but meeting Maitreya was the internal potency acting, which wouldn't have happened if he hadn't gone on pilgrimage, or apparently wouldn't have happened. So when circumstances are perplexing, we're not necessarily going to understand. This is what we discussed this morning. We're not necessarily in the moment going to understand, oh, this is what Krishna wants, and it's favorable for my bhakti. Krishna wants that which is favorable for my... We may not see it, in the moment. But with faith, we should know there's something favorable for your bhakti life when apparent misfortune comes. Easier said than done, but that's a repeated message that we hear in the Bhagavatam and from our acharyas. And life has its misfortune, doesn't it? Hare Krishna. So let's see if there's some discussion. The Sikandi story, interesting story. You have something, Kirti?
While you were narrating the conversation between Bhismadev and Parshuram, although apparently it appeared that they were inciting
Chivalrous talk.
But action-wise, there was a lot of etiquette and culture that was followed, and he was following proper... He was actually respecting his preceptor. And that was very striking for me.
Okay, so this is an observation. Yeah, we're getting a lot in these literatures. Etiquette lessons come again and again and again. And my position is why again and again, because we're lacking. How to train? Well, if you're Vyasadeva, one of the ways to train etiquette is you write about it. You portray it. This is proper and that's improper. But you can read it again and again. It doesn't necessarily transform to good conduct and good etiquette. It's a little bit like, it's a little bit like parenting. How do you pass on good qualities to your children? Or if you're a teacher, how do you pass on good qualities to your students? Etc. If you're involved in temple community and people misbehave, what are you going to do about it? How do you? This is something that came like several times in the course of Light of the Bhagavad, which many of you know I've been absorbed in giving teachings on it. Good government is a head of state that is trained and then guided by brahmanas. That's the model. And then the good governments take taxes, but how are they to use the taxes? Like a rain cloud distributes water, is to distribute the mercy to the people in general. But mercy to the best thing to give mercy to the people in general is developing character. And tax money, Prabhupada writes, is for that purpose, or a primary purpose, because that's a sign of a good governance, is the people have good character. And then the governance becomes easier, because problems is when people don't have good character. So how to get good character? It's certainly making strong emphasis on it. It's not a guarantee, but if you don't make that strong emphasis on it, then is it going to happen? And then you have to model it. And then ultimately it's purity. Purity is the force. Books are the basis. That's our challenge. This is Kali Yuga and things are topsy-turvy. I'm about to comment upon your comment. Anything else? Yes?
Two questions.
Okay. You're on.
First question, Maharaj, when Bhishma and Lord Parshurama were having fight, so Bhishma, 8 Brahmins came down and they helped Bhismadev. So were they 8 Vasus?
He's one of the 8, so there are 8 Vasus, but he was one of them.
So how come they were 8 and he was 9th?
There's
I mean,
8.
he was part of the.
He was one of the 8. There are 8 Vasus, and he was one of the 8.
Okay. And one thing more, Parshurama, when he helped Amba, Princess Amba, so he could not visualize that Amba is on the right
And
side.
besides Vasus are not Brahmins. Vasus are Kshatriyas.
So who were 8 Brahmanas who came down?
You have to ask Vyasadeva.
I see. Okay.
No, I interrupted. You were asking question number 2, and I interrupted you.
Yeah. Second question was when Lord Parshurama was helping Amba, Princess Amba, he could not visualize that Amba is on the right side or wrong side. he helped Amba even though she was on the wrong side, you know.
He took a position. His position. Yes. His position was, poor girl, or poor lady. Bhishma, you kidnapped her. So you should do the rest. Don't send her back. You kidnapped her. Don't send her back. Do the right thing. And so he didn't. He was moved by, let's say ultimately Yogamaya moved him, but the reasoning was, here's a woman to be protected, and Bhishma, you should give her protection. Marry her to Devirya, or marry her yourself. I can't recommend Vichitra. Look, this and this and this and this. So he didn't. You're right. He didn't weigh things properly, and Bhishma was right. He had weighed things properly. Now that didn't leave the Amba in a nice situation. So she is innocent. What did she do wrong? She was just there at her Swayamvar, ready to marry Shalva, and along came somebody to turn everything upside down. So what did she do wrong? Well, who can say what she did before she was Amba to have misfortune come? How does anybody know how the misfortune comes? What's back there?
So how come Bhismadeva could not see all these points? She is innocent.
Bhismadev did see. Now, Bhismadev, before kidnapping her, Bhismadev didn't know that she already had signals going with Shalva. That he's not held responsible for. He's not omniscient. When she disclosed it and said, what do I do? Here's the situation. Go, you have my blessing. Go back to Shalva. We'll send you with an envoy, brahmanas, and people to help you get there, and turn you over to in royal style. It stepped back from all of that, and there's a plan. And there's a plan that so many things and so many things and so many things, so that Grandfather Bhishma's story could be told, that we could learn lessons through Grandfather Bhishma. Now he's a Mahajan. So we can't start rationalizing or criticizing or dissecting or anything like that. And listen to this list of who he won't fight with. And he lived by, I'll drop my weapons if any one of these on this list come for a fight. But a Kshatriya will always take a fight. So he was an emblem of etiquette and some Vedic standards and virtue, and kept his word. And so discrepancies come because there's a plan.
Okay, Maharaj, thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for the nice
I just read,
description.
don't even call it a class, I just read from Mahabharata. Go ahead.
So, as I reflecting on the Bhismadeva, both are actually very elevated souls. So Bhismadeva is apparently, I think, using some harsh words or inappropriate words to his preceptor. So was there any atonement he has to undergo?
No.
For that?
No. It's unique. But in the circumstance of the whole picture of the circumstance. It's it's combat. So let's step back. Did he have undergo atonement for having combat? It's just it's not so much different. Which is better or which is worse, the combat or the strong words? Because chivalrous words are part of chivalry. And you go over it again if you like, and it's not like he said something that was wrong. It maybe stronger than needed to be said, but it wasn't wrong. And because it was stronger than it needed to be, then maybe impertinent. But the circumstance is not ordinary. We must not imitate, right?
Like in our daily basis, like we unknowingly, if we if we commit such kind of offenses to our elderly persons or our gurus, shiksha gurus or any person. So how
Yeah,
can
that's a lack of culture. In Bhishma's case is not a lack of culture, it's just difference. It's different in our circumstance. Our circumstance is just lack of culture. Lack of a sense of proper conduct and proper speech. Anything else?
Guru Maharaj, is it me or someone besides me? My question is there any good explanation why the standard of morality is easier to follow in Ramayana versus Mahabharata?
Easier to follow in what sense? To agree
to
with
relate
it?
to relate to.
To relate to it. It's a fact that the following of Ramayana specifically in a person or a group of people or like in a whole citizenry can be guided by the proper conduct of Ramayana. The standard of virtue is there's not such a mix. In Mahabharata there's enough of a mix that makes it hard to chew. So one sense it's like you have to go to transcendence besides the morality, the worldly morality, in order to get it and connect with it. Because there's greater challenge in things like all of this. And Mahabharata was read by, or not only read by, but performing dramas and an essential part of. So I'm not giving a very comprehensive answer. Just the morality, the ethics and morality that Ram stood by are not contradictory. I mean, that they're killing Vali the way he killed Vali, that has its complexity.
But he gives a very good explanation behind
He
it.
gives an explanation. But so I've had discussions with people that even with the explanation, it's but supposing he had done that in a different way, couldn't he have done it in a different way? It doesn't lead to complexity. That kind of thing. Yeah, the trial by fire. Of course, then there's different Ramayanas. Some don't have that.
So Maharaj, if I was to answer my question myself, and if I were to say morality is not black and white, would that be a correct understanding?
Well, it depends on what you mean by it's not black and white.
Means it's not easy to answer just like this is black, this is white. There is
Well,
lot of
that's right in
gray area.
Mahabharata.
Hmm?
It's right in, the Yaksha saying, in the Mahajana Katha Sapanta. It's not black and white. Yeah, okay.
The other question I have is, when these great personalities do some unusual things,
Like
ma-
what?
the,
Like ride in chariots that fly in the sky and things like that?
no, not like that. Those are I can
Mystical.
understand. But what I was getting at, sometimes these girls, what was coming to my mind is um, um, Vashishta Muni and Vishwamitra taking a fight, and for some petty reasons and stuff. My understanding is that it's inspired by some higher
Yes.
power.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes,
understanding?
and also there's purification that's needed, and the purification that's needed comes by ways that increases the heat. Without the heat, the purification doesn't take place quickly.
Thank you.
Okay. You have something? No. Yeah.
Aside from Amba's revenge reaction that she had against Bhishmadev, what should have been what would have been a better response from her
Oh,
side?
it is acceptance. It is what it is. You move on.
She didn't listen to her mother.
And she was just like in victim consciousness. Rather than introspection, it's just revenge. When Parashuram saying, "What do you want?" Kill Bhima or Bhishma. What about this? What about that? Kill Bhishma. Revenge. Better response is acceptance. I don't know how, there must be something back there, and this is for my purification, and let me learn how to live with purification and grow spiritually instead of the revenge. Okay. You have something? Okay.
Maharaj, I see in my, like in some of my friends or my relatives, like whatever happened like 20, 30 years ago, they still keep this.
They hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes I happen to hear the same story again and again, and they wish bad for others, or they want to see some bad happens to them. So, how should I respond in that situation?
It depends. What's your relationship, and what their receptivity is, and and flexibility, and openness, and so a lot depends on all those factors. You prayer is powerful. Be a good example where you don't do that, so they can see what it's like if you don't do that. And they may be upset, oh, you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to be revengeful with me. Get on my side, us and that. So, just you model good conduct and you pray and you consider it to whatever, is there some step in the direction of wholesomeness that I can bring into this gathering or this person?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.